All right, guys, welcome back to the Canadian Economy and Estates podcast. We're here today, lots to talk about. Seems like although these politicians are on summer break, there's lots going on and lots going on in the real estate market too. So, Brooke, how's everything going?
Hello. I've missed a couple of weeks, but I've enjoyed watching our guests come on. That was an excellent episode with Dan last week. So if anybody's missed last week, it's a great episode. Want to touch on it a little bit? What you talked about?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to have Dan on. He talks a lot about Canadians needing to deleverage. Pretty bearish on the market. He kind of said like he hopes he's wrong, but he thinks that the market's going to go down more. And yeah, we just talked about kind of Carney versus Polyev and everything along those lines. But overall, it was a good episode, and it's great to have him on. He's a wealth of knowledge.
You know what? I have a client that works in the energy sector, and he consults for Pierre Polyev, and he told me, and I don't know how true this is, and maybe it's just him saying this, but he said that toward the end of the campaign, Pierre didn't want to win anymore because he didn't want to go up against Trump, because whoever goes up against Trump is not going to be, I guess, seen as doing enough, or they get the brunt of what's happening. So there he would have to inherit a lot of what's happening in our economy, and that he's going to run again and hopefully win the next one is what he's saying. But that he didn't want to win toward the end. I don't know if I believe that, but that was
Yeah, I don't know.
great.
I don't know if I believe it either, but yeah, I mean, hey, you never know. I mean, Trump is a brutal negotiator. He just goes for like, and he knows he has the power, right? Like I know some people don't love him, but he has the strongest military in the world and the strongest economy. So when you combine those two things, you're kind of the boss of every room that you walk into just by default. I know some people don't like him; they don't like to hear that, but it is the truth. So, I'm gonna share my screen here anyway. So. We will hop into the first one here. So why don't you take this one away, Brooke? This is
Okay.
the GTA real estate stats from Trev.
Okay. Steady grind down for GTA real estate. GTA June home sales down slightly, 2.4%. So prices are down 5.4%. Supply is up slightly, 0.7%. Inventory, which is active listings, up a whopping 30.8%. Properties taking longer to sell, which is days on market, is up 30 to 40%. No surprises here, steady as she goes. And we have a chart here that basically states year over year summary, which is 2025, the sales total, and this is for GTA real estate. So I don't even believe that includes Hamilton. GTA is realistically just the GTA, it's not the GTHA. So sales were 6,243 in 2024. Up to this point in the year, keep that in mind, has been 6,397. So it's down 2.4%, which, to be honest, I thought it would be more.
So did I. I thought it was going to be a lot more than,
I thought,
than,
yeah,
than what I saw there. Yeah, I thought it was going to be worse. But anyways, keep
realist,
going.
yeah. New listings, 19,839 in 2025 up to this point. In 2024, up until July, essentially, there was 18,413. So we are up 7.7% in new listings. And then active listings. This is the whopping one. So up to this point in 2025, so far, active listings is 31,603. And in 2024, the amount of active listings up to this point was 24,169. So we are up 30.8% in active listings, which essentially means that I would have thought that it would have affected column one a little bit more in terms of the amount of sales. It just means more people are listing, and days on market is higher. Here's average days on market. 26 is now, and it was 20 before. So we're up 30%. And then average price. Average price in the GTA right now is 1,101,691. In 2024, year over year was 1,164,491. So we're down 5.4%. And then the average pending days on market, this just means how long it takes after the deal is firm to actually close. It's 42 now, and it was 30. So we're up 40%. So people aren't doing as quick of closings, and that's a testament to a lot of people have to sell a house. So they leave themselves time when they buy something, or they sell first and take more time before jumping
Yeah.
in. Like the 30
I
day.
think the big correlation here is going to be your active listings. So the more people that sit on the market longer, and the correlation is going to be to your average price. So you can see, as you know, our sales aren't as bad as I thought they were going to be, but the active listings column is what's kind of piling on here.
Right.
People unwilling and unrealistic to sell, but the more people on the market, the more options buyers have, and there's going to be somebody out there willing to be more realistic than somebody else. So we kind of
Right.
have that negative 5.4% drop. Now, if you go and hyper focus on some of these other markets, like the COVID darlings, as I like to call them, the St. Thomas's, the Londons, even Oakville, and you look from the peak until now, you're going to notice quite a large dip. So that's kind of what we're seeing. And that's kind of the trend that I see going forward. I don't really see what can help us in the short term. I think in the long term, and we'll get into some more kind of ideas and some more politics that could make Canada's economy a lot stronger. But in the short term, yeah, we went up 50% during COVID. It's time to deleverage. It's time for prices to, unfortunately, fortunately for some people, unfortunately for others, come down to reality a little bit, right? We don't have the incomes that we once had. Investors are really taking a look at this market and they're not as active. Don't blame them. Rents are coming down, interest rates are still high. So that's kind of where we stand. If I'm buying in this market, it would have to be the perfect home, something that I really, really want, for me to jump in. And
Because
that's
there's
just
no
my,
real price tag. Like, what is the cost of your, like, this is a perfect home for my lifestyle? If prices come down another 5%, which some people say that, and I think there may be dips and ebbs and flows in the market. I don't think we're going to see any big crash. I think that's already happened, in my opinion. But what is the price tag on finding something that's like, wow, this is perfect for my lifestyle? And then I always say to buyers too, like, if you're waiting, like, I just picked up two houses that I'm going to flip. I mentioned this in another podcast, and I got them both for over 100K under asking. So I'm buying in at a potential decrease, right? So I'm
yeah.
testing the market. I threw in a bunch of offers. There are some sellers that, they were estate sales. So, especially if you're firm, like, do an inspection before, and like test the sellers out by speaking to the listing agent. But I bought in over 100K less than what even our appraisal was. We needed an appraisal for the mortgage. So the appraisal came in at 950. It was listed for 999. I bought it for 860. Right? So I bought in at a decrease. You don't see Burlington detached homes sell for 860. So I'm buying in at the decrease. So I tell buyers that too, that you don't necessarily need to wait for prices to fall. You can almost contribute to them falling by
Yeah.
seeing a new data point, by seeing who's willing to just walk away, or
Willing to take a loss,
or they have
yeah.
no mortgage on it and 860 firm. It's like, let's just take it, right? Of course, the people on the street probably aren't happy with that price tag, and I'm flipping it, so I will set a new data point once I sell it again, hopefully. But there
Yeah.
is opportunity. So to see so many investors not in the market anymore, like, I think there's definitely opportunity if you're smart about it. I think this is a great market to pick something up that is way undervalued and add value to it. Because, like we said, what's the price tag on finding the perfect home? I'm renovating this one and I'm going to do it really cool where it's going to be an excellent family home, right? And market it to as many potential buyers as possible by adding another bedroom, et cetera, et cetera. And the good ones are still selling and still getting that number. And that's why only 5%, I think, we've seen decreases, even though there's these low balls that are getting accepted. There's still some that are getting multiple offers and going a little bit over asking or selling right away. Like, there's still a lot of listings that, get those numbers that are, in my opinion, decent for the area.
Yeah, I think you're kind of nailed it. The stuff that's in a good area, and it is done up, is selling. I think the ones that you're kind of going after are, people who they bought it for 200 grand, and they're happy to walk away with 900 versus a million or something like that, and it needs a lot of work, and you're willing to do it. So I think you're kind of honing in on a pretty good
Yeah.
opportunistic
Like,
spot here.
check the sales history, like on House Sigma, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you're an active or even a passive investor that likes to scroll through House Sigma, like I like to, or any of these Realtor.ca apps, there's the history where you can see what the seller bought it for, and if they bought it for 164,000 in 19 97
Yeah.
or whatever. Maybe there's more of an opportunity.
They're older. They're just willing to
They're
walk
older,
away.
they're
Yeah.
themselves, and they're just, done with the
We made
process.
our money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, housing is a great opportunity to kind of look and see that. So yeah, I think you're right. Okay, let me share this one here. So this one kind of was an interesting chart that I saw, and it kind of shows Toronto's housing corrections compared. So it's Toronto Metro price change compared to the peak. So basically what we're looking at here is kind of these shallow recessions that we sort of had here. So in 2007 and 2009, the kind of financial crisis, it was very similar to what we saw in 2017, 2018 when the foreign buyer ban came in. So you had the financial crisis that came in, then you had the foreign buyer ban that came in. And what really drove the market, because I feel like in 2018, the market was, it was cooler. It was, prices were better, but what fueled the market was COVID when interest rates went to zero, and then we had mass immigration. So we had those two really big changes in the economy that shot prices back up. So we kind of these more shallow recessions, and then we're kind of looking at the 1990s here, where we saw this big kind of deleverage, price come down, and then things traded sideways for quite a while. So
Which
what we're
is
looking at, sorry.
which is kind of what we're doing now. A decrease of 5% and then an increase of 2, and then, like if you're above 5, I would say maybe it's a bigger dip, but trading sideways is up 5, down 5, up 5, down. But like that's kind
Yeah,
of trading
you're seeing
sideways.
these dips. Yeah, these kind of ups and
There's
downs.
always
So like,
dips.
are we seeing this? Here's where interest rates went up in 2022, and then we saw the market really start to calm down. People started having to return back to the office, and prices came down. We saw a little bump up here, and now we're kind of coming back down again. So yeah, could we kind of reach this more bottoming out sort of up and down for the next 10 years? Potentially. That's what we could see. So I just thought it was interesting to kind of, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes sort of saying. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, we'll keep,
History doesn't
we'll keep,
repeat, but it rhymes.
that's what they say. So we'll keep our eyes on that and see where that one goes. But yeah, let's keep an eye on that cycle. We'll see what happens. Again, we've got a lot more other stuff to talk about here, but there's a lot of stuff happening in the Canadian economy that could potentially hurt us, or it could make us better. So I think we're probably on the right track to become a better economy. I don't think we can get any worse than the Trudeau era. So what we kind of saw was that Alberta and Ontario, you can kind of see by the sign before, yeah, these two here, Daniel Smith and Doug Ford, for people that don't know. What they're really trying to do is create this one big Canadian economy. So they really want to have it so we're trading with each other, we're doing business with each other, and we're not so reliant on the U.S.
She's wearing that for the Stampede, I guess. That's funny.
Yeah, they're in the Stampede. Yeah, yeah. Just talking about everything to do with manufacturing, the EV that the kind of the liberals want to put out there. The EV kind of, they want every car to be EV, and then Doug Ford's kind of saying no, we can't do that. We have a huge manufacturing of cars here in Ontario. And then Daniel Smith talking about oil and gas and pipelines, which is a big part of Alberta's economy. So I think it's going to be a good collaboration. They want to get a pipeline going from Alberta to Ontario. As we've talked about before, we know that the pipeline goes from Alberta down into Michigan, then back up into Sarnia, and then it feeds Ontario. So we have to go through the U.S. Again, the whole point of this is like we've been talking about Trump being the big bad wolf. Okay, let's do something about it. Let's become more dependent on ourselves and not go through the U.S. so we don't have to face these kind of issues in the future. I think it's smart.
You know what? I go back to her. I really like her. I think she's very smart. There's a lot of people, she gets a lot of backlash, but I think she's very smart. And I think she gets a lot of pushback for what her ideas are. But she's in it for the long game. She sees what's happening with our countries and she's coming up with solutions. And of course, these cost money and, there's a lot of roadblocks to get what she wants to do completed. But I see her vision and I like her.
Yeah. And you know what? It's because she's not the CBC poster woman. They don't like her because she's different. She's a conservative. Right. And the CBC, they get money from the Liberal government. I mean, there was just, I don't know if you saw it, but there was just a man who came out, he worked for CBC, he had a show, and he started pushing back because they wouldn't have conservative people on. It was just, they would cancel his conservative guests, and he just came out and kind of blew the whistle. And there should be more to come on it, but it just kind of, as a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer, everyone listening to this podcast is most likely a taxpayer. You're funding CBC, but they won't give you both sides of the story. They'll only give you one side of the story, and that's why there's so much independent media, because people are just kind of sick and tired of there's a saying, pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining. Basically, you're in the wrong. Having a different opinion than what we're telling you is not right. So, anyways, I think she's good. She has good ideas. You can't agree with everyone that everything says, but hey, I think she's got Alberta's best interest, and it turns into Canadians' best interest.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I see the vision. We'll see what transpires. I like to follow what she comes out with. And seeing progress. Are you going to get into Alberta wanting to separate?
I think that one is there's supposed to be a referendum. I really don't believe it's going to happen. I think if it gets more leg.
I'm going to just briefly go off track here. It said the Alberta Prosperity Project has officially filed with Elections Alberta to launch a citizens petition for a referendum on independence under Bill 54, which became law today, which is July 8th. Is it the 8th? Once approved, 177,000 signatures will trigger a referendum on Alberta becoming independent from Canada. Sources say Jeff Rath and Mitch Sylvester were waiting at the doors this morning to file the moment Elections Alberta office opened.
Yeah, so they basically put it to a vote, kind of like they had in Quebec. I don't think the numbers are quite there.
Yeah, me neither.
Could we get shocked and surprised? Of course. That could totally.
You know what happened with Quebec when they tried to do it?
It was close, yeah. I think it was 51% said no, 49 said yes. So it was they almost separated. It was very close. To be honest, I mean, I wonder what Quebec kind of state they would.
Like you get enough signatures and you're just not part of the country. Yeah. Do you become your own country, or you become like a territory? You're still part of Canada.
No, you separate. No, you're not a part of Canada at all. Yeah. I don't know all the logistics behind it, but yeah, you become your own country. You have your own police, you have your own tax system. You basically are totally separate from Canada. Although Alberta is kind of in the middle, so they'd be between British Columbia and Saskatchewan. They would be separate.
Lose a lot of revenue.
Well, Alberta would be fine because they make so much money from oil.
Yeah, they would be fine, but Canada would lose a lot.
Yeah, all of our equalization payments, to other provinces would, even Ontario, the one we live in, it wouldn't be good. So I think though that we're on the right track of kind of mending this relationship. So, anyways, we'll see where it goes. I'll get you to read this one. So it's just from Polling Canada. I thought it was interesting.
Okay. So Polling Canada asked, what is the most important issue that we're facing right now? Canada/US relations came in at number one at 22% of people voted that Canada/US relations is our number one issue that we're facing right now. Second is economy/jobs at 21%, housing and poverty 18%, healthcare 13%, immigration 9%, environment 3%, crime and safety 3%. That's quite low. And then accountability/leadership is 2%. So economy/jobs and the Canadian and U.S. relations are at 43% combined in terms of what our biggest issue we're facing as a country is. I wonder when Canada and U.S. make a deal and that kind of goes away, because it could technically go away quickly, like come up and they're big and then they kind of go away quickly if there's a solution, and people forget quite quickly. So I wonder where the 22% of people that voted the Canada/U.S. relations, where they would vote if that wasn't an option. Like, it wouldn't have been a selection probably last year, right? So
yeah, it's funny because kind of you look at this list and I'm like, what would I put? Like, I would put immigration higher.
If you only had to vote one, what would be the biggest issue? Like economy/jobs, that's almost too broad. Like the economy/jobs, it's an issue, but like in an economy, there's so many pillars to make up an economy. So is it just talking about our jobs and the unemployment rate of 21%? So that's probably a lot of people that are facing the high cost of living that voted for that, which I think is definitely an issue. Like our cost of living has like the amount of people that are struggling in Canada right now. So I would think that the Canada/US relations, like a lot of boomers, voted for that, and I see why it's the highest. It is a major issue right now. Let me reiterate that. Like it is,
Yeah.
we need to come to a trade agreement. That's extremely important for our economy. Housing and poverty at 18%. They
Yeah.
kind of overlap a little bit. So if I only had
I
one
know.
choice,
Economy and housing.
it's hard to choose one.
Yeah, very hard, very challenging. But it's still, kind of top of mind that housing is, sorry, the U.S. Canada relations is still so high. It was such a big theme in the election. It's still here today, and no doubt, it's still an issue here because we still don't have the trade deal, right? We're still kind of waiting on what's going on. And just to get people quickly up to speed here, so the United States will restart trade negotiations with Canada immediately after Canada scrapped its tax targeting large technology firms. So kind of what happened, for people that don't know, but I think a lot of people do know, is that Trump said, we're done negotiating with you if you're going to tax our big tech firms. They were trying to tax companies like Meta and Google on their revenue that they're making in Canada because, look, Mark Carney needs to make up money somewhere. Like the whole, that kind of Trudeau and Freeland and, the liberals, the liberal era before us who still seem to haunt us today, they left a big gaping hole of debt that, Carney now has to deal with. And I know he was an economic advisor and he was, to a lot of conservatives out there know that he was a part of the issue, but now he's at the front runner, right? It's not Trudeau anymore; it's him. So now he has to face this, and now there's going to be talks again with Canada and the U.S. It was pretty obvious that Trump had Carney, and Carney needed to scrap that, and he did on that Sunday night, got rid of the tax. And now they're hopefully back at the negotiation table to make a deal, because the most important thing right now is that we don't get hit with a massive amount of tariffs and lose a ton of jobs for a lot of people, because Canada, the household debt is just too much for us to go through this mass layoff.
Yeah, we can't. That would cripple. I don't think that, well, if Carney is bad and he has any smarts, which I do think he does. I really do. I think he's smart. Like, he's a businessman. I mean,
yeah, he didn't get to where he's at.
Exactly. He knows how much that would affect our economy. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he'll let it happen because Trump wants something, right?
100%, 100%. So I'm gonna go to a clip here of Carney. This is from the Liberal Party here. So you can tell his goal is to mend this relationship with Alberta, right? Like, he's got the hat on. I know he's from Calgary, but obviously people in Alberta don't like this guy. They voted for the Conservatives. That's where they won the most seats. But he's out there. He got booed at the Stampede. He has his hat on. Yeah, he got booed at the Stampede. Yeah. I mean, Alberta's, they're conservative. So it's kind of like if Pierre went to where is it, Halifax or something, he might get booed there too.
Newfoundland is liberal. Sorry.
No, they actually, I think they're split, but they won a bunch of conservative seats for the first time in a long time because they do have oil out there. So it kind of makes sense.
Got it. The Maritimes is very, very liberal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me play this here.
We're going to build these major projects powered by Canadian energy, transformed by Canadian technology, and crafted by Canadian workers. We're going to build these projects in a way that makes us stronger, that diversifies our trading partners, diversifies our economy, that creates literally hundreds of thousands of jobs. Hundreds of thousands of jobs, don't get me wrong, are a good thing, but hundreds of thousands of careers in the skilled trades, right? And that's because we are going to be building for decades. We're going to be building for decades.
So I think this big theme here is really build, build, build. We got to make some money. Canada needs to have some jobs. We neglected it before, and now we're here. We need to do something. We can't just have the status quo. Even Carney's saying it. So I think when I've been saying, like, I think good things are still to come, this is what I mean. I think that Carney sees the writing on the wall, and he knows that he needs to make big changes versus the Trudeau era. I still wish it was Pierre. 100%. I love Pierre. I still hope he comes back stronger. I miss him. I can't wait for him to get back in the House of Commons. But I got to give credit where credit's due. I know Carney is going to try and do something that Trudeau refused to do. So, anyways, that's kind of my rant. I guess that's kind of what all I had this week was just, it
Well,
seems like
I
all
thought
the
you were gonna go
premieres
back
are.
and do this. I was waiting for you. Yeah, like there's not a crazy ton of updates. Like some weeks, obviously, there's way more updates. But
I
the
know.
Alberta thing is interesting, so I'm gonna keep following that. There's always something new. But in terms of the real estate market, I feel slow, but I have a lot going on. Do you kind of relate to that where it's like
Yeah.
a lot of like listings, a lot of like it's just it's tough to get to the point of an actual sale. So if I could share one piece of advice to anybody, it's that days on market isn't a scary thing anymore. There used to be a stigma. For sure, for sure. Days on market. If you were on 60 days on market, oh, throw them a low ball. Yeah, it works sometimes, like I just said at the beginning. Like it does work sometimes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with the house and people see it for the first time at day 65. I sold something in Niagara on the Lake after 94 days, 30K over asking with multiple offers. So it's like it's back to the market that I remember in 2018 when I sold my parents' house. Like they were getting kind of antsy at like day 40, and then we got 97% of list price. And when I put out a poll on my Instagram and I asked everybody to guess what the average list price to sale price ratio is, people were guessing like 70% and 90%. It was actually 90. I think it was like 98%. So that just means if you're pricing accurately, and a lot of people are like, oh, my finishes and this should price it higher. If you're pricing it accurately and you have the education behind you, which is hiring a skilled agent in your neighborhood and kind of can really do an appraisal of the house and know what the market value is, if you're going to price competitively, you are going to sell closer to that price than if you leave room for negotiation. That is my opinion.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, still things happening. Like, I don't know, what did we do? Two or three last week. Still trickling along. It's a great time to be a buyer. So anybody that's looking to buy in the GTHA or surrounding areas, there are some great opportunities just to pick something up. And keep in mind if your home that you're living in has maybe lost a little bit. Oh, lost a little bit of value. Like let's say you bought it for 800 and maybe it's worth 700 now, but your dream house is listed at $1 million. Well, when your house was worth 800, that house was maybe worth 1.2. So doing the move, even though you're kind of taking a slight loss to do that jump, you're making money because 1.2 came to 100, or sorry, 1.2 came to $1 million, 800 came to 700. You sell and do the move. What one in 5 years is going to be worth more? So there's a lot of different scenarios that we can run, especially if you're a buyer right now, or especially if you're in a house that you don't want to lose money. You're not going to lose money. You're just going to wait for either your house that you're in to recoup the value, or you can pivot if that's a goal of yours to something that might recoup the value but actually be worth more at the same time as what when yours would have recouped.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? Like you just said, if yours was worth 800 in the peak, but the house you wanted was 1.4, well, it's going to be different now, right? You're going to go buy in a different market than it
You
once.
make up the value in buying at a loss. If you sell at a loss, you're going to buy at a loss if you're in the same market. So if you're doing a relative move, I'd love to help you. We have way different scenario, like a ton of different scenarios that we run. Projections, look at past data. Where was the peak of this house versus this house? So I'd love to work with a buyer right now. It's just because you do have to be strategic. Even if you're a buyer, you have a lot of choice. Like, the whole fallacy, what do they call it? The choice fallacy. When you have too much choice, you don't make a decision. Whereas
Yeah,
if
that's
there's less inventory, then you
yeah.
have an easier time making a decision. So hiring a skilled agent is one of the most important things that you can do in a market like this.
100%. It's someone with experience and X, Y, and Z. So, hey, that's our pitch for
That
hiring
means
Brooke and I. If you want to book a call, it's the first link in the description. It's free. Yeah, we just arm you with data. Like we just give you the data. Your house is worth this per square foot. This is what your neighbors got. Just, a bunch of data that really helps you kind of wrap your head around it, even when you don't want to believe it, or maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised. And then we do it on the other end too, right? Like I run scenarios on houses that my buyers, I just helped some people buy and bury there, and they were new their first time, and they just needed someone to kind of help them along and help them with data, and we had a great experience. And
Yeah.
we have an inspection and a financing clause. The inspection's tomorrow, and they're fully protected, and they feel really good about their purchase. And could they wait another 6 months and prices go down? Maybe, but they're ready, right? They're ready to buy a house. They're renting a basement right now, and they have the equity to do so, and they have good jobs. So that's kind of where they're at. Again, if you feel nervous nervous about your job or you feel strapped for the down payment, then just don't do it. Wait till you feel a little bit more comfortable. There's no pressure, and if someone's pressuring you, you should work with them. So anyways.
I had a buyer and a buyer that would have needed to sell their house if they were to purchase. And they kept apologizing because they're like, we don't know if we want to move, but we don't want to waste your time. Wait, you're not wasting my time ever, because I can shed any sort of light on your situation and help you make the decision to stay put. I have done my job, right?
Exactly.
Just because I didn't sell something doesn't mean I didn't do my job. Yes, I technically wouldn't get paid for but it comes back to me later, and I don't do this for the money. I do this because they decided to stay put, but I helped them do that. I helped them make that decision, and now they feel good about it. And like, I feel like I did my job, if that makes sense. So never is it a waste of time, even if you're like, I just don't know what I should do, and I don't want to waste a realtor's time. You're never wasting my time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, there's definitely some people that I've wasted.
Yeah, obviously you take too much advantage, but
yeah, but I realistically like enjoy, if I really think somebody should stay put, especially if they like their lifestyle and something's way too much, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, I don't think you should move. It's pretty simple. You should stay put. If I were you, I'd stay put. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. We are going to keep this train rolling here, keep you guys updated throughout the summer, the boring times, so you have something to listen to and something to do. And it keeps us on top of things. And again, if you want to work with Brooke or myself, it's the first link down below in the description. It's totally free. If you don't want to work with us, say you live in another province or you just have a realtor who's a cousin or something, just like and subscribe. That's how you can support us in our business. That helps too. So we appreciate you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.